guys. I'm so excited to welcome you to the very first Too Much Tuesdays. I'm Tara, and I'm really glad that you guys are here. Um, this is my very first time doing this, so if you know me, you know that technology is not my strong point. So if you are messaging me, I really think that I can see it right here. I think I see where to see the comments, but don't be discouraged with me if I don't answer your question right away because it might take me a minute to figure out. But let me tell you what this is. Too Much Tuesdays is my way of giving to the world a little bit of the healing that I have received from the world, from the universe this past year. Because my year, probably like many, many, many of yours, has been incredibly challenging. I mean, that's the like polite way to put it, right? Because it's kind of sucked. I mean, we have all been through so much stress, anxiety, fears with COVID. But the thing is that our lives weren't like perfectly peaceful and lovely before COVID, were they? Really, they were, and now we can see that more clearly. But it didn't feel that way. We felt stressed before COVID, you know. And then things fell apart, as you know. And so, my kids, both of their schools kind of fell apart and they were freaking out. I had to change my whole business model, as many people did. We all had to pivot, right? And then my health just nosedived because I didn't get COVID, but I had this weird nerve pain that was finally diagnosed as Lyme disease. And it was just really, really, really hard. And I don't know how I would have made it through all of that without this energy tool that I'm going to show you guys today. So it's called EFT or tapping. And I've got to tell you, it looks a little bit kooky. I know it does, but I don't care because it works. And we're just going to be, in a minute, I'm going to guide you through this way of tapping. So first I want to tell you though, why in the world would we tap on our faces to relieve stress? Why would that work? All right, so let's talk a little bit about emotions. Most of the time, you probably, I'm imagining, act like a grown-up. You know, you you kind of have your emotions mostly in control most of the time, but sometimes it just gets to be too much, right? And that's why I I am utilizing this energy tool in the first place because I have learned through hard experience with myself, with my kids, and with many, many clients that when you push an emotion down for long enough, you can do it at first. We can all get it together, and act like a grown up. But after you start pushing emotions down over and over and over, what happens? Well, you either might feel a physical illness come on or pain, just a headache or something more serious, or it might erupt at some point when you really don't want it to, at your kid, at your spouse, at a colleague. And it's exactly here's what I want you guys to think of your emotions as. Has anybody ever had a 2-year-old, either your own 2-year-old or somebody else's 2-year-old that you're responsible for, and you're in a public place and that 2-year-old starts to melt down and have a tantrum? All right. So what did you do for that 2-year-old and what worked? I bet you tried. This is what I always used to do. I would use logic with my 2-year-old. Which is in and of itself very illogical because it never ever worked. Why? Because 2-year-olds don't listen to logic, even in probably the best of times, but definitely not when they are tantruming. So I'd be like, well, you see, you can't have that candy bar because your blood sugar is low right now. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I would try to explain. And what happens when you explain things logically to a 2-year-old? What happens when you explain to them why they shouldn't be acting the way they are, why they shouldn't be feeling the way they are? They get louder. They tantrum more. That's the same thing that happens to your emotions. When you tell yourself, you shouldn't be anxious right now. You're a spiritual person. You should just pray. You shouldn't have those fears. You know that that's ridiculous. You don't have fears. You use your energy technique to not have fears. You don't have fears. Don't listen to fear. When you try to press things down like that, push down your emotions, it works for a while until it doesn't. What else do you try with a 2-year-old? Have you ever tried who's tantruming? Have you ever tried yelling at them? Stop it! We have to get through the grocery line right now. There are people waiting, because you're like embarrassed and you've got to just end this situation. And how did that go? How does that go when you yell at your 2 year old? That also makes them get louder and get worse. And when you yell at yourself, it just makes the emotions more volatile. And so, what is it that would actually work with a 2 year old? Okay, people are having trouble getting to that. You can do it. You can do it. Just go to my page and I'm live here. People are texting me. So when you look at your 2 year old who's, say, tantruming for a candy bar in the grocery store, right? And you say, I see you. You are upset. You're so mad, right? When you see them and you accept them, that's when it starts to very slowly get better because they feel seen and they feel accepted. And then what's the next thing that's going to happen in a couple of minutes? I know, honey, you want that candy bar. I know that you do. It's hard. And then they're eventually going to let you give them a hug. You eventually get to love. So that is what we're going to do with you today. And the reason that we're going to tap on our faces instead of just talk about stuff is that the little part of your brain, the amygdala, where your flight or fight or freeze response is not connected in any direct way to any language center. So you can talk to yourself all you want about not being upset, and it's not going to matter. But what a genius named Gary Craig has found is that when you tap on the end points of some of these meridians that are flowing throughout your body, it's the same meridians as acupuncture uses, it calms you down. It makes it so that you are seen. Your inner 2 year old who's having emotions is seen and accepted. And then you'll eventually get to love and then releasing these emotions. We're not going to deny them anymore, you guys, but we are going to process them faster than you have been. Because that's the other thing I love about this technique. It's not just that it works, it's that it's really fast. Because I don't have time to, deal with things very much. I need to do it quickly, right? So we're going to start. Tap right here. If you see this about halfway between your pinky knuckle and the bottom of your hand is a point right here. I use 2 fingers just in case I'm not getting the exact point. You're going to get it if you use 2 fingers. So about halfway down right there. And this is the easy part. This is where we think of our problem. We all can think of our problems, right? So I'm going to take myself as an example. I get overwhelmed. Angry anymore about COVID. I'm not so much like crying about it, although that does happen sometimes when I hear about people who are suffering so much. But mostly in my life, I notice I feel overwhelmed. I've got my kids and I've got my relationship with my husband and I've got my clients and I've got my mom and I've got, like we can all name 50 things that we've got going. And I feel overwhelmed. And then I get kind of frozen, okay? So I'd like to change that. So just think of something that is really bothering you and you really want to change it. And as you tap right here, you're just going to say, even though, and then you fill in that blank. So I'm going to fill it in by saying, even though I feel this overwhelm, okay? Even though I feel this overwhelm. And then I want you to take an instance that you feel it. I mean, with overwhelm, I feel it kind of all day, but I can think of a trigger for myself that throws me into overwhelm faster than anything. It's looking at my Google Calendar with all those. At first, I thought it was pretty, all the little colored boxes. It's cool, but I realize now that what if the technology doesn't work? I had 2 Google Calendars for a while. That was a bad idea. And then I have my paper calendar too, because I didn't trust the Google Calendar. The whole thing was a mess. And it really just made me feel overwhelmed. So I'm going to know that that's my trigger. And I'm going to think to myself, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being, I feel fabulous. And 10 being, I feel worse than I've ever felt in my whole life right now. I just kind of want to die. Where is that feeling of overwhelm when I focus in on looking at my Google Calendar? And right now I would put it at a 5. It's not horrible, but it's definitely there. So I'm going to give it a 5 on a scale of 0 to 10. Okay? You'll understand why in a minute. Why I'm asking you to rate it, that is. So even though I have this feeling of overwhelm. And then what did I say we need to do with our emotions, with our 2-year-old emotions? I accept it. I accept my feelings, or if you can say this honestly, I accept myself. I've worked on myself a lot, so I can say I accept myself, so I'm going to use that, okay? And I'm going to say it 3 times. Even though I feel this overwhelm, I accept myself. Even though I feel this overwhelm a lot, I do accept myself. And then I'm going to go to the next point, which is up here, right at the top of your head. Tap pretty firmly, okay? You're not just, pretty firmly. And now you can shortcut it. And you can just say, this feeling of overwhelm. And I want you to tap like 10 or 15 times on each point. The next point is right here, right by your eyebrow. Even though I feel this overwhelm and it really bothers me, I accept myself anyway. And then the side of the eye right here. Even though I have this overwhelm. And then you can start just really like talking to yourself about it. The next point is right under your eye, right there. Oh, this feeling of overwhelm, it washes over me like a huge ocean wave, and then I just freeze. Oh, this overwhelm. Next point is here, underneath your nose. Oh, this feeling of overwhelm, very familiar feeling. Tap a few times. And then right under here, on your chin, under your lips, just showing you the points right now. This overwhelm. I kind of hate this feeling of overwhelm. I'm so sick of it. And then the next point, I want you to find your collarbones. See the little knob right there? You feel the knob of your collarbones? And then go down about an inch and then out a little bit. And you can actually feel a little bit of an indentation. And that's where I think the most important point is. It's called K27. It's on your kidney meridian. And if you don't remember anything else about today, remember this one. You can just tap right here and it really activates your energy and gets your energy going a little bit better. So, this feeling of overwhelm. So if you feel more anxious, more sad, heartbroken, whatever your feeling is that you want to get rid of, that's what you're saying over and over on these as we tap these points. Oh, this feeling of overwhelm. And then I'm going to go about, let me adjust this here, go to the deepest point of your armpit, and then about 4 inches down, it's going to probably hit where your bra is, ladies, and for everybody else, it's just about 4 inches down here, and it might feel a little bit tender, it might not. This sense of overwhelm, okay? Those were the points. Now go back up to the top. And like I said, you can really get jiggy with it. You know, you can like start talking about it. Things might come up for you, but stay on the main topic that you chose. I chose overwhelm. So, this overwhelm, this feeling of overwhelm, I've got it. I feel like it's been around for a long time. I remember feeling overwhelmed in 5th grade. Oh, this overwhelm. That's a feeling. It's a feeling. I accept myself, but it is a feeling I have. This next point, are you getting the points here? Oh, this feeling of overwhelm that I get, and then I get kind of frozen. This feeling of overwhelm. And then remember K27, find the collarbone points, an inch down, about an inch out. Oh, this feeling I have of just being overwhelmed. There's so much to do. And no matter how much you get done, there's always more to do. Whatever your thing is, you can just let it rip as we really tap or massage these points. If the tapping bothers you, like I find it awkward to tap on this one, you can rub in little circles like this. Okay, now I'm going to check back in with myself and I'm going to go, okay, on that scale of 0 to 10, I was feeling a 5 before. What does it feel like now when I imagine looking at my Google Calendar and seeing all those little boxes of different colors? You know, weirdly enough, I don't feel as triggered anymore. I think I would put it at a 3. That's not perfect, but it just went down by 2 points. I wonder if I could get it down even more. So then there might be something else that comes up around the same subject. So I said something as I was just, and this is just as you're talking to yourself, you're doing this by yourself. I've had people go out to their car and do it while they're at work. If they're at in-person work right now, they'll go to their car to do this because it's helpful for them, but they feel weird like in their cubicle doing it. I also know that a lot of people just go to the bathroom and do it. You know, you've got your little bathroom stall, you've got your little privacy. You can whisper, you can just be like, oh, my anxiety, okay? You can just go and do this. Or if you really can't get away, these points a lot in real life. What happens when you're like, oh, I can't believe this? You've got 2 points right there. Okay, these are actually different. These are some different points that we're not going to go into, but you've got 2 points right here. And then you can even like, nobody's going to notice and nobody's going to care. You can do this on the subway if you still ride the subway, you can really like fit it in because it's very, very effective. So remember I said something about, I think I've had had overwhelm since 5th grade. Now when I think about it, because that's interesting to me, like, wow, I really, that goes way back, right? And now when I think, actually, I think the first time I felt overwhelmed was in 1st grade when they were trying to teach me math. Because right from there, it all fell apart. I was good in kindergarten with just learning the numbers and like, counting. I was strong with that. Got to 1st grade, addition and subtraction just destroyed me because I just didn't get it. My brain wasn't that way. I was really good with the reading and writing. The math, I immediately was what? Overwhelmed. So I'm going to go to that. Even though I get so easily overwhelmed, I was overwhelmed in the 1st grade when they tried to teach me to add. And honestly, you guys, I've got emotion coming up around that. I am really surprised. Like, that is almost making me cry. How I was so overwhelmed in the 1st grade because, of course, I'm thinking of my daughters and how when they're little and they get, introduced to a new concept and they get like freaked out about it, I have such compassion for them. But what do we do when it's ourselves? We usually just kind of like laugh at ourselves. I was freaked out by just learning how to add 2 and 2. Or, like I said before, we push it down, push it down, push it down. And probably you've already experienced what happens when you keep pushing things down. So this is better. A little bit of like, oh, I feel teary when I think about myself being overwhelmed in 1st grade. No problem. We're going to tap it out. Even though, so that's your first statement, right? Even though I felt overwhelmed even from the time I was 6 years old. How am I ever going to handle grown up stuff? I was overwhelmed with addition and subtraction, but I accept myself. In fact, I think I'm even going to go so far, you guys, as to say I love myself because I feel great love for that little 6-year-old Tara trying to figure it out. Even though I get pretty easily overwhelmed, I love myself. Even though I get easily overwhelmed, I love myself. So try to find some other aspect of it, If something else comes up, if it doesn't, and you can just tap yourself down on the one thing all the way down to 0, which is what we want, then great. But there's probably a couple of different things coming up about it. So now I'm going to shortcut it again. Remember, when we go to the points, you don't have to say the whole statement. You can just shortcut it. This feeling of overwhelm that I used to like from the time I was little, I got overwhelmed. Wow, that is really easily overwhelmed. That's what I go to. That's the story I keep telling. And I want you to notice that I'm not saying I am overwhelmed. Like, even though I am overwhelmed, I accept myself. I'm not saying that because you know what? I am not my feelings. And this isn't just a little linguistic thing. This is a real thing that will help you to navigate the emotions in your life. If you understand that they're feelings, they're emotions, you're having them, but they can move through you and out. They are not you. This overwhelm, it's so familiar to me that sometimes I do get confused and just think, I'm Tara, I'm overwhelmed. No, I'm Tara having a feeling of overwhelm. And it's really helpful when you combine it with this tapping to just say, oh, even though I have this feeling of overwhelm, it's like, oh, yeah, it is just a feeling. It's a feeling. I don't like it, but it's a feeling. Even though I have this, oh, any questions? Bathroom work. I have done bathroom work a lot by on myself. Like I said, when I am feeling overwhelmed and really like freaking out and can't hold it together anymore, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. Nobody will ever say no to that. Go to the bathroom, do a little tapping, many a time. And Susan has a really good question. Do you need to switch sides each time? Does it matter? And you can, I usually tap with my right hand because I'm right-handed. It doesn't matter. You can see too that I start to get red on one side because my skin is just really fair and it stays red right here. So if I come back from the bathroom and I have red right here, you guys know I was tapping. But you can use your left hand. Some people like to use both hands because they say it feels uneven if they don't. But you don't have to use both hands. But you absolutely can, or you can switch, or you can stay the same. It's the only time I use both hands is here on K27, and like I said, it's just a really important point for a lot of reasons. So you might want to look. You can see how red it's getting. You might want to tap on both sides there, but it doesn't matter. Any other questions? How long do you need to tap for, Trisha? By the way, you guys, I'm so excited to see you here. Hi, Trisha. Hi, Leanne and Susan and Jill and anybody else. A couple other people. How long do you need to tap for it? That's a really good question, and it really varies. I mean, if I have something, I'll take a situation that I was in a couple of years ago now. My older daughter was graduating from high school, and I'm not going to go into all the drama that was happening, but it was a lot. And I was really upset. And it was one of those like time for, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. And I went to the bathroom and I was like, it is not time to cry right now. It's the family dinner after the daughter's graduation. It's supposed to be a happy time, and it's supposed to be about the daughter, not about the mom and her emotions. So I went into the bathroom and I was like, even though I'm so mad at my daughter right now, I start here. Even though I'm so mad at my daughter right now, I love myself and I love her, even though and I tapped it out. And I'm telling you, within 5 or 6 minutes, Trisha, I was back at I had been at, I would say, an 8 or 9, and I got down to like a 2. I got down to a place where I could go out and be like, hi, and it took like between 5 and 10 minutes, and I think much closer to 5. Other times, if you're really, dealing with a situation in your life that's a really deep seated thing, it might take you like half an hour or longer to tap down from it. That's the reason I was a little bit resistant, to tell you the truth, to the 0 to 10 scale at first, because when I'm working with clients, I'm just like all about compassion for them. I can like really feel what they're going through. And I felt bad saying, now, whoa, would you think you're at a 7 or an 8 right now? You seem real upset. I didn't want to do it. But eventually I've realized that it is important to get that number, even just on yourself, because a lot of times it's hard for us to remember the difference between an 8 and a 4, say, because you just want to feel completely good, right? You don't want to just feel better. You want to feel good. And so sometimes you can be tapping and be like, after like 5 minutes, especially if you're real upset, you can be like, this isn't working. Forget it. I don't know. I'm not doing it like Tara did. I don't know. The thing is, if you use that little scale and you go, okay, I was in an 8 when I thought of that Google Calendar, whatever your trigger is. What am I at now? All right, I'm at a 5 now. That is better. It's not good enough. It's better though, and that's why I'm going to keep tapping. So that's why the scale thing is important, just to really encourage you and let you see that stuff is shifting and changing. So let's see. Ooh, we've got like 5 more minutes. Let me know if there's any other questions. So at the end of the like tapping, right? Then what do you do? Well, I've been in situations like the bathroom at the graduation where I'm like, okay, I gotta go. It's not like you have to do anything. but you might want to just check back in with yourself. Take a deep breath and breathe out slowly at the end. I want to kind of leave you guys with that thought also, that not a lot of times, but sometimes you're so upset that you might not be able to access that. Let you start with an even though, and you set it on a scale of 0 to 10. And then at the end, you say, I accept myself, or I love myself, or something. It might just seem confusing to you. If you are so upset and you're just like maybe even having an anxiety attack or just upset and you can't remember all the words and stuff, no problem. Just start tapping, and we call it tap and breathe. So you're just going, breathing in, hold it for a few moments, and then breathe out much slower than you breathed in. You don't have to do it through your mouth. I do it through my breathe out through my mouth so that you can see what I'm doing. This is another thing. A lot of people, especially my beautiful spiritual clients, they start tapping on the third eye because they know this is your third eye chakra right here. It's not going to hurt you to do this. That's the great thing. Tapping, you can't blow this thing, But this is actually not the end of a meridian point. It's an important chakra, but it's not the end of a meridian point. It's right here at the side of your eyebrow. Okay. So anyway, tap and breathe. Breathe in, hold it for a few minutes. Breathe back out. Side of the eye. In, hold it for a few moments. Breathe back out. Just this will take you down from a 10 to 5, even a 1 or a 2. It's really handy, and especially if you've got somebody else, maybe a friend, a family member, maybe a child, you can just have them, hey, you know what, do what I'm doing, I know it's weird, it really works, breathe with me. Especially a child will just breathe with you. And if you can, it's actually just a physiological fact, if you can breathe slowly, you will calm your system down because it just happens that way. So I think the words are really, really important. I'm a person who likes to process things. And so it helps me to process. You can even get to like a soul lesson, if you're tapping and let's say I say something like, oh, even though I have this sense of overwhelm and I've worked on it before and I don't know why I can't get rid of it. And I think it's because I'm just such a perfectionist. Oh, wow. Even though I'm a perfectionist, I love myself. It's so cute to be a perfectionist. Oh, I said I am. Even though I have this feeling of perfectionism, I love myself. So you see how the processing of it took me to a different and deeper place. So you can do that with it, or you can just do the tap and breathe thing. So you guys, I'm so happy to answer your questions, either just on Facebook on my regular page. We have also a Beyond Your Belief community page that you guys can answer a couple of simple questions, and then you can be on there with us. You can also email me at tara@beyondyourbelief.com. And if you're feeling slightly confused or just afraid that you understood it, but you're afraid you're going to forget this, if you go to beyondyourbelief.com, you will see where to put your email in. And you guys have probably already done this, but you can download it's called my Transformation Toolkit. And it's got some really cool tools, and EFT is one of them. So you can just click on that little video in the Transformation Toolkit, and I will be there showing you the points, okay? So you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so cool. I love doing it. It's going to be every Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern. So, you can invite your friends and loved ones. Next week, I do think we're going to do a little bit more tapping. So email me your questions. I also might be able to figure out how to do more of a Facebook room, and so that I can actually work on somebody. So that might happen. And also I have other tools to show you. I have a really cool Eden energy technique thing to help you guys start every single day. So I'm going to do that either in a week from now or 2 weeks from now. So more cool stuff coming. Thank you so much, you guys. I really love being here with you.